are some initial questions you had when you found out you're pregnant during the pandemic?
Siguro the first question talaga would be, what have we done? Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Joy Spring TV. Today we will be talking about pregnancy during COVID-19. So as most of you guys know, I got pregnant in the height of COVID-19 last year, and I'm still pregnant now, but I'm about to give birth to our little boy in a few weeks. So I thought of answering some of your questions about this pregnancy and how a pregnant mama like myself feels like being in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell to make sure that you're updated with the newest videos that we'll be uploading. And yes, Bowie will be here this whole time that I'm shooting. He refuses to leave the sofa, and as most fur mamas know, you do whatever the dog wants you to because you love them that much. Siguro the first question talaga would be, what have we done? It was a lot of worry, to be honest with you. But we planned this pregnancy, don't get me wrong. When Wanshu and I started trying to have a baby, we thought that it would take us a couple of months, siguro mga 6 months to a year, to get pregnant because I was on birth control pills and at the same time, I had PCOS before. I really didn't think that we would get pregnant as fast as we did. So we got pregnant, I think 10 days or 14 days after my period. It was a crazy journey and I had a lot of questions. Like, for example, what's gonna happen now because we're in the middle of the pandemic? Can we raise this child in the middle of the pandemic? Second question was it going to be better in 2021? Because we were still in 2020, and a lot of things were still unsure here in the Philippines. We had a lot of lockdowns. We were living in a condo and we had to make a lot of big decisions because we found out that I was pregnant. So we were living in Makati at that time in a condominium and we lived on the 39th floor in the midst of the pandemic. So that was really tough because if you want to lessen your contact, it's hard to do that in the condo because every time that you have to go out, get packages, get food, you always have to use the elevator and that exposes you to the other people who use the elevator. So one of the big decisions that we had to make was we wanted to move to the province, to the suburbs. So that's why we moved to a different house and it's actually one of the best decisions that we made. But naturally, if you get pregnant in the midst of this pandemic, I know that you will have a lot of doubts, a lot of anxieties and fears, but do not fret because I think even if we weren't in the midst of the pandemic, pregnancy brings in a lot of changes and challenges, so it's natural to feel the way that you're feeling. The number one concern for me was the safety of getting my OB checkups. I think that's probably one of the first concerns that I had when I found out that I was pregnant. Like, was it going to be safe? I don't know if it's maternal instinct that kicked in, but I just became more vigilant in the way that we protected ourselves. So, of course, we already were wearing our masks and our face shields, but we also started becoming more vigilant about wearing the clothes that we wear. So, for example, if we go to the hospital to get a checkup, once we reach our door, we remove our shoes na kaagad and our clothes and we make sure that we put them straight into the laundry. We go straight to the shower, we disinfect and do all of these things. Recently, because before, ang checkups ko is in the clinic of my OB. Recently, mas madalas na kami sa hospital because it's nearing my term already. So what we would do is we actually wore PPEs and then I put together this UV box inside our car where pagkatapos namin pumunta sa hospital, we remove the PPEs, remove our face shield, face masks, everything, put it in the UV box and let it sterilize there while we travel. So that's one concern. Another one is social interactions. Definitely your social interactions will have to be lessened. I know that's tough, but for me, it's one of the loneliest feelings I've ever had, to be honest. Ito yung isa sa mga naging issues namin ni Wanshu during the pregnancy. I was telling him na, grabe love, I'm pregnant and it feels as if that's my only life now. It's either I'm working from home or I'm being pregnant. That's it. I don't see other people. I don't go to the mall. I don't get to do other activities because I'm pregnant. But I was fighting faulting him because he wasn't pregnant. He didn't have the same boundaries and the same concerns that I did. So, mamas, it's so normal to feel that way towards your husband, but I suggest that you communicate it and talk to your husband about it instead of getting mad at him. Because to be honest, it's not his fault naman that you're the one that gets pregnant, and these boundaries and concerns that you have are only natural and they are there to protect you. Another concern that I had was how susceptible are pregnant women to COVID-19. And, I had to talk to my OB about it. She had to give me a lot of vitamins and we had to be more vigilant once again with the precautions that we have here at home and also in the interactions that we have with our loved ones. One, the most important probably is that pregnant women are immunocompromised. So that means that your immune system is lower than usual. So mas madali ka magkasakit, mas madali ka to catch a cold, flu, or even COVID-19. That's just the reality of it. And that's the reason why when you get pregnant, your doctor gives you a lot of vitamins. And especially when I got pregnant in the pandemic, I was so worried because I thought bakit ang daming binigay na vitamins sa akin ng doctor ko? Is there something wrong with my pregnancy? But she was explaining to me that the reason why she gave me a lot of vitamins was because, one, she knew that I was still actively doing work from home. So she wanted to make sure that I had the energy and the right nutrients for that. Obviously, vitamins will not replace the right diet for you, but it can help in, getting those nutrients and vitamins that you need for your body. I guess the best advice that my doctor gave me was really to make sure that I eat well, I stay active. That's why I still worked out even though I was pregnant. I just had to get the clearance of my OB and I got the professional coach to help me with my prenatal exercises, and I'm still drinking the vitamins that she gave me. So that's very, very important. Another thing that I think not a lot of people might be talking about, but is so important, is managing your stress levels. I know that dahil nasa pandemya tayo, it's so hard to be relaxed and to be calm. But as you might have watched in one of the videos that I created here on Joy Spring TV, it's not just about being calm, it's being connected with your body. So do the activities that will help you connect with your body and with your baby and help you really just connect and calm down. Make sure that your stress levels won't go up. What I started doing was I stopped using Twitter and reading the news because that just would spike up my stress level and it honestly was not worth it. If I needed to know any news bit or any updates regarding our country or COVID-19, I would ask my husband to do that for me. I started doing more social media detoxes. I started reading more happy books. I started listening to more music instead of just trying to be constantly aware of the world around me, because my priority now was to lower my stress level so that me and my baby could be healthy and at least stress-free as much as possible. So, there. So many. So podcasts, you can read lots of articles. I personally downloaded immediately, at least because of my mommy friends. They told me to download What to Expect and Baby Center, 2 apps that help me track my baby's development and see what are the developments that would happen week by week. And also it connects you to mommy forums. Guys, first time ko to be part of a mommy forum. It was very, very exciting. And I did that with Baby Center and What to Expect. So that was very helpful. Another one that I think not a lot of pregnant women explore are doulas and birthing experts. So I think one of the mistakes that we did, Juancho and I attended our birthing class medyo late na into the pregnancy. I wish I did that earlier into the pregnancy because doulas and birthing experts, apart from your OB, can really help you visualize and prepare for your birth. So far by God's grace, normal pa naman yung expected delivery delivery ko. Because some women, di ba, kailangan nila ng scheduled CS or cesarean delivery. For me, normal delivery pa naman, everything seems okay. But I wish I knew the other techniques that the doulas and birthing experts could really help you with. For example, breathing exercises, visualizing the way that you want your labor and delivery to become. Another one is to keep yourself away from horror birth stories. Surround yourself with positive birth stories. I wish I had known that better because I had a lot of well-meaning friends and acquaintances who shared with me freely their horror birthing stories, and now I can't get them out of my head, but I'm trying to. And also, like all of these mga online classes, one of my favorite YouTube accounts now is Bridget Taylor's Built to Birth. So her videos are amazing, and I also downloaded and bought her birthing class, Built to Birth in Teachable. So I think, just exposing yourself with all of those resources, the way that you should be eating, drinking, the way that you should be breathing, preparing, visualizing for your birth are really, really very important. And because of the internet, you can be connected with a doula, not just here in the Philippines, but also abroad, like Bridget Taylor. So now, labor and delivery. Actually, because nga, we don't have a scheduled date for giving birth because I'm due for a natural birth, we have no idea what to expect because laging nagbabago-bago yung protocols ng quarantine and ng hospitals dito sa Philippines. A couple of months ago, when it was GCQ already, pwede na yung husbands sa labor room and delivery room. And then, nung nag-ECQ ulit and MECQ, pinagbawalan ulit siya. So, how we're preparing for our labor is, one, of course, we're preparing the usual stuff like the hospital bags, our papers, our insurance, and also the house already para pag uwi ni baby, everything is prepared for. But at the same time, I'm preparing to labor on my own. I'm already assuming that Juancho will not be with me in the hospital as I labor and as I give birth because I just think that that is a huge possibility. So I don't want to be like some women I know, unfortunately, who already thought that they were gonna give birth with their husband by their side, but then ended up giving birth by themselves because overnight nag-change yung protocols. Another thing that you guys should also be preparing for are the saliva PCR tests for COVID. In our hospital, kailangan ng valid na COVID test na negative every 3 days. Parang 3 days lang yung validity niya. So, I think the way that you prepare for that is, one, you look for a clinic where you can do a drive-by and kaya niya ng overnight or pinakamabilis na PCR result. And pangalawa, you have to also prepare for the expenses of that because that's very expensive. Imagine having to get COVID-19 exams every 3 days. That's gonna be a lot of money. So, we're also preparing for that. And of course, we're preparing for the expenses of giving birth. It is not cheap to give birth, obviously, but we've been preparing for it for the past couple of months, and by God's grace, we're kind of there. We're near our goal and our target already. So we prepared money for best case and worst case scenario. So think about that, and of course, be in constant communication with your OB para updated kayo palagi sa mga changes that might be happening in your labor and delivery protocols in the hospital. Oh my goodness, I cannot stress to you guys enough how important the partner's role is in your pregnancy. Partners, my goodness, you guys can either be God-sent or you could also be sakit sa ulo, the bane of our existence. It could be either. And I thank God that Juancho has mostly, if not completely, been a blessing. And every time somebody tells me, oh, you look blooming, I always say, and even though I'm having a boy, people say, oh, grabe, we can't believe that you're having a boy because you're so blooming. I always say it's because of my husband. So, husbands, you have such an important role to play in your wife's pregnancy. You are there for moral support. You are there to really carry the load that she can no longer carry. You are there to understand and to yield in almost every argument. I kid you not. I'm sorry, guys, but you have to, at least for these 9 months, and to really help her relax and adjust to this new life that she's getting into. My husband has been so understanding in, my mood swings, cravings. Like there was this one time I was craving for food and he couldn't find it. So he went to 3 different supermarkets just to be able to find the food that I was craving for. He would resource with his friends, with his siblings who live near our area, just to make sure that I get the food that I want, because he wants to do the best that he can. One of the cutest and also sweetest things that Juancho does these days is he tells me that if you can't go to the CR in the middle of the night, or if you need water, anything like that, just wake me up. So yung mga usual boundaries that we used to have, like if he's sleeping, I'm not gonna bother him. He lets me let go of those boundaries and tells me, you know what, if you need me, just wake me up. So sometimes I do. I wake up Juancho in the middle of the night if I'm hungry, if I need water, if I need help in going to the toilet, etc., etc. So all of these things are so important for the husbands to do. And also, if you can, I know it's hard kasi just that alone, diba? The common responsibilities of being a partner is a lot already. But if you can, please don't forget to pursue your wife still. Buy her flowers, buy her chocolates, tell her she's beautiful. My husband tells me that every single day, I kid you not. And I don't care if he sometimes doesn't mean it, as long as he tells it to me. It matters because it helps me feel better about myself with all of the body changes that I'm going through. Another thing, I know that intimacy could be very difficult during this time because you are pregnant, but that just means that you have to be better at communicating your wants and needs to your wife, and the same way your wife to the husband. So, there. So that's it for all of your questions for me during this time, pregnancy in the midst of the pandemic. If there's really one final advice that I'd like to give all the mamas out there who are watching right now or who want to be mamas in the midst of this pandemic, siguro the simplest and probably the truest advice that I could give you is to stay hopeful. I know that if you've been wanting to start a family or if you're pregnant at this moment, it could feel like we are in the midst of dire times, that it is hopeless, that you are alone, that you are really just going through this journey by yourself, and that it doesn't feel like the perfect time to have children. But guess what? It's never the perfect time to have children. It's only the right time for you and for your family. And if that is in the midst of this pandemic, yes, it will be challenging. Yes, it will be even more challenging than the usual journey of getting pregnant and being pregnant as it was before, or starting a family as it was before. But it's still worth it. It's still worth it for me to go through all of these challenges, because I know that at the end of these 9 months, we will be able to meet our healthy, beautiful boy, and we'll be able to love him and care for him and help him grow into the man that we know God has designed him to be. So I just want you guys to stay hopeful, stay vigilant, take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, your physical health, your emotional and spiritual health, and also count on your partners and your husbands to help you go through these difficult times. Kasi kahit gaano pa kahirap yung mga challenges natin and these seasons that we are faced with, we can always get through them together. Hopefully you guys liked this video and this episode of Joy Spring TV. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comment section below. Any mamas who are watching right now, if you'd like to share with me your experiences during this COVID-19 pandemic, and if you're pregnant right now, please do let me know in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.